My stop motion short, Clean Eating, had some quite challenging shots within it. So I'm going to talk you through how I did some of them in this quick making of video. So let's start right at the beginning. The opening shot where the dishes are being cleaned in the sink. It was far more complicated than you will ever imagine. There was quite a bit of engineering involved, and my dad helped me build this little rig, which meant that I could put this in the sink and it would hold a plate. Because to animate the dishes being cleaned, I had to have the ability to take my hands away, because I was animating my hand moving around like this, and as well as that, I had bubble wrap for the soap bubbles. So underneath the scourer, I had pieces of bubble wrap. And when I animated, I was holding the plate with my left hand, I was moving this around, but also I had smaller pieces of bubble wrap that would detach from the main piece of bubble wrap, and these would drip down the plate as I was cleaning. So for every frame I had to be able to take my hands off, move the placement of the bubble wrap so that the water could slide down the plate and I could clean with my other hand, and then put my hands back in the right position. So this rig here was just for that one opening shot. Quite a little bit of work goes into making animation sometimes. So the next bit in the film that I thought I would explain is the fire on the hobs. Now I've seen this done before, you will have probably seen too. Pess used little corn sweets for flames, and I was thinking, how can I do flames with what I've got in the home at the moment that's a bit different? And I found this sort of vellum waxy paper that I had. So I cut strips. I had some orange strips that looked like flames. I had a transparent white colour piece for when the flames start, and I had a couple of different shaped blue strips. And so the process for doing the flames, every single frame I had to go in around the hob, stick this piece of paper, and every single frame I was changing that out. So you can imagine this got quite complicated, especially when the frying pan was coming into shot and the flames were still flickering beneath it, because I had to go in underneath the pan or take the pan off and change the flames and then put it back on. So there was quite a bit of process involved in those shots as well. Now, one of the other bits that people found fascinating was the onion rings, which again was a technical challenge. I wanted to flick a piece of kitchen cloth and for rings to fly out. So to do that, I had two cloths. I had a solid square cloth and I had this holy cloth with my rings and the circles cut out. Now, that wasn't everything. I also reinforced the cloth. I stuck wire along the edges, which meant that my cloth could hold its position. I ended up not needing that as much as I thought I would, but it did mean that when I flicked it, I could hold and the position of the cloth would stay in a position that perhaps it wouldn't have stayed in had it been floppy. So I reinforced the edges with wire. I just did that with floristry wire and some glue. And then my sister kindly used one of her crafting machines to cut the onion rings out for me so they were all nice and neat. The process for getting this to work was when the cloth hit the table, I had to stick down these circles, the middles, where which were left behind from the onion rings. I had to stick those down to the table so that they didn't move. And then each separate onion ring was elevated using wire rigs, and I had to remove all of those in Photoshop afterwards. But it was quite an involved shot. I had both of my hands in the frame. I was trying to catch one of the onion rings with my hands, so I was moving the onion rings every frame, putting my hands back in position and trying to make it look like I was catching an onion ring, and the whole time I was having to trigger the pictures with my foot, and I had the keypad down on the floor. So there was quite a lot involved in this film. It took me about 2 weeks to do it. I filmed it over 5 nights in a row, and all the editing was done in the day, and I spent probably 2 solid days doing sound effects. All the sound effects for this film I recorded myself, and I really put in a lot more time and effort into the sound design, something that in the past I haven't always allocated enough time for, but I really went all out this time to make that super duper cool. I hope you found this making of video interesting. If you've got any other questions about how I did things, do let me know down in the comments. I'm also going to start a new thing where I shout out people that I have really appreciated their comments from the previous week. So I'm going to be mentioning top commenters at the end of videos, so if you're a loyal viewer and you watch right till the end, you may find yourself being shouted out for being awesome. So stay tuned for that.